Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
Rank bad. Hackney cab drivers put the brakes on in a row with Leeds City Council over a lack of pickup spaces. They have a simple request.
Park on a rank, wait for a customer and go. That's all we want. It's not a lot to ask for. They licence us. They grant our drivers licences. They have a responsibility to provide adequate rank space.
Silent killer, a former nurse fighting cancer she believes was caused by asbestos, urges the government to take action and rid older public buildings of the substance.
People who have no idea that they're going into a building that's dangerous, no idea that that there's poisonous material there that could hurt them 20, 30 years down the line.
Man of the moment, Yorkshire's Harry Brook talks to our Chris Dawkes as he prepares to lead out England's cricketers against Australia.
And I'm sure you'll be hit for six when you see all the brilliant photographs of last night's harvest moon and partial eclipse. More photos coming up shortly.
Thanks very much for joining us. First tonight, Hackney carriage drivers in Leeds are being forced out of the industry, according to campaigners who claim their trade is being eroded, partially because of the actions or inaction of the City Council.
Yes, drivers staged a protest at the Civic Hall this lunchtime, saying there are fewer and fewer taxi ranks available to them to ply their trade, and those there are being filled by vehicles that shouldn't be there. Here's Michael Billington.
What we want! What we want! What we want!
An impassioned plea from Hackney cab drivers in Leeds who say they are being driven to financial hardship.
We've got families to feed and so forth, but like I said earlier, our income has been depleted because of lack of authority from Leeds City Council.
Most of us are driving around the city. It takes us about 2 hours to get a job, which just driving around the city is causing more pollution in the city centre.
We've lost so much work that people here are struggling to make a living. I mean, you're better off stacking shelves, and we're supposed to be professional drivers here.
They claim in recent years the number of rank spaces for them to pick up passengers has fallen drastically, down from over 220 in 2007 to just over 70 today. And even they are filling up with people not entitled to park there.
When we get out of the car to challenge someone that's taken up one of our spaces, which we often have to do, we're met with indifference, apathy, and sometimes huge amounts of aggression. We're putting ourselves in danger. We shouldn't have to do that. The sign should be clear enough to deter people parking on there. They licence us. They grant our drivers licences. They have a responsibility to provide adequate rank space.
The council says with taxis, buses, disabled drivers and deliveries, competition for road space in the city centre is very significant, adding that it's already engaging with the Hackney carriage trade about their concerns and that it remains committed to working collaboratively with the trade on this issue. At Leeds Station, the rank for Hackney cabs was closed when work began on the front of the building. Now drivers say they're left jostling for space with private cars and private hire taxis in drop-off spaces at the back.
Our takings have probably dropped 50 to 60%. That's because when you come off the trains, you come straight out of the ticket gates. We used to be straight out the front door, we were there. People would come straight to us. Now we're hidden away down by the back of the Wetherspoons. People don't know where we are. The signage is very, very poor. And it's very difficult for us.
Hackney drivers say they're now bottom of the pecking order in Leeds city centre and that their fight for a fair share of space on the roads has to continue while their very livelihoods remain at stake. Michael Billington, ITV News in Leeds.
A former soldier who served in Iraq has been jailed for more than 2 years for the part he played in the riots in Rotherham last month. Violence broke out outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Wath after an anti-immigration protest. Lee Marshall, who's 39, shoulder-barged a female officer in a bid to push the police line back. He pleaded guilty to violent disorder and assaulting an emergency worker.
A Wakefield construction company has been fined £150,000 after a grandfather died when he fell through his bathroom floor. Kenneth Armitage from Huntington in York was having his bathroom converted into a wet room when workers from Cooper and Westgate removed the floorboards and left an unguarded hole. The Health and Safety Executive found the company hadn't properly trained its staff.
Tributes are being paid to a cardiologist who died in a crash this week, with colleagues describing him as truly remarkable. Dr. Robert Sapsford, who was 59, was involved in a collision between a bicycle and a transit van on the Great North Road in Ledsham on Monday. The van driver was arrested at the scene on suspicion of dangerous driving. He's since been bailed. Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust said Dr. Sapsford had worked as part of the cardiology team there for 30 years and was loved by colleagues. An asbestos removal firm in our region says it's being contacted on an almost hourly basis, with estimates that millions of buildings across the country still contains the deadly material.
Although its use was banned 25 years ago, the effect on those exposed to it can be devastating, including the cancer it's most associated with, mesothelioma.
Well, a former nurse with the condition is urging the government to take action and rid older public buildings of the substance, which some say is a silent killer. Chris Conway reports.
This is a terminal cancer for which there is no cure. Leave.
After years working in hospitals, it was a diagnosis that stopped critical care nurse Helen in her tracks. Mesothelioma, a deadly cancer linked to asbestos exposure.
Like, just absolute disbelief, I think, just total shock. Mesothelioma was just the last thing I ever thought it would be. You know, I'm a young woman and I've got 3 children who depend on me. I would have loved to have been their mum for all of their life, and I'm not going to get to do that. And the reason I'm not going to get to do that is because at some point in my life I have breathed in some asbestos fibres and now have got this disease and I've been given a death sentence.
Mesothelioma mainly affects the lining of the lungs, and figures show 2,700 people are diagnosed each year. Most of those diagnosed are 75 and older. In 9 in 10 cases, exposure to asbestos is the cause.
Being told you've got mesothelioma is right at the sharp end of the wedge of a cancer diagnosis, and this cancer is 94% preventable. The only way you develop it is through being exposed to asbestos.
After being used in industrial and residential buildings, the use of asbestos was eventually banned in 1999. John is from a company which now removes the deadly material.
We get called on an hourly basis, so it can be in a terraced house, a mansion, factories, like I say, hospitals, schools. It's right across the spectrum, really.
With the time she has left, Helen is calling for the government to do more to remove asbestos from public buildings.
It's now people like nurses, doctors, office workers, people who have no idea that they're going into a building that's dangerous, no idea that that there's poisonous material there that could hurt them 20, 30 years down the line.
In a statement, the Health and Safety Executive, the government department responsible for managing the risk, said, "Workers' exposure to asbestos is an issue we take seriously. We will continue to review and consider any new or emerging evidence where it can help improve health outcomes." Helen is determined to make as many memories as possible with her family, but she's also determined to use the injustice of her illness to try and prevent more families ending up in her situation. Chris Conway, ITV News.
And we thank Helen for sharing her story with us, and of course we wish her and her family all the very best. Now, you are watching Wednesday night's calendar, and still to come on the programme we have the latest fantastic Pride of Britain fundraiser, plus my captain Chris catches up with the latest Yorkshire cricketer to lead out England.
And I'll be showing some of your photos from the last few days and nights, and of course your full forecast for the next few days. Join me a little later on.
And after calendar, it's the ITV Evening News, presented tonight by Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, the world reacts. The fallout from the pager attacks that killed at least 12 people in the Middle East. Here, when is a pint not a pint? Why scientists are urging pubs to reduce the size of our beer glasses. And the incredible life-saving work by a British neurosurgeon to separate two baby sisters. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Mary. OK, it's time for some sport now. And Barnsley fans might want to look away because the Theatre of Dreams became more of a nightmare for the Tykes in the League Cup last night. Despite making the better start, Barnsley were simply no match for Manchester United, who led 3-0 at half-time. There was no let-up either in the second half, as United ran riot, scoring 7 goals in all. Barnsley head coach Darrell Clarke was upset with his team's performance and says he wants to see a better showing when they return to league action at the weekend.
Need a reaction. The same as I said to the changing rooms in there. Listen, if they think they're going to get a pat on the back for that performance, it's not going to happen. You know, I give some home truths in there and it stays in there. But I want to see a reaction from the players because I don't want us to be a soft touch. I thought it was a soft touch tonight with real sloppy goals, and you do that against teams like Man United, you get punished.
Well, that was a punishing night for Barnsley. It was a much better evening for Sheffield Wednesday. The Owls are into the hat for tonight's 4th round draw after beating Blackpool. Bernard scored the only goal of the game, 1-0 the final score, and in the EFL Trophy, Bradford beat Mansfield 3-0.
Now then, it's fair to say that Yorkshire has had a proud history of producing cricketers who would not only represent the country, but also captain it.
Yes, the likes of Len Hutton, Jeff Boycott, Michael Vaughan and Joe Root have all skippered England. And tomorrow you can add another name to that distinguished list.
Yes, because Harry Brook from Burley and Wharfdale will lead England for the one-day series against Australia, which starts at Trent Bridge tomorrow. And that's where our sports correspondent Chris Dawkes caught up with the man of the moment.
Yes, a very proud day indeed for this young man stood next to me, Harry Brook, captain of the England side for this upcoming series against Australia, starting right here at Trent Bridge tomorrow. Harry, congratulations. What does this mean to you to captain your country?
No, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to these 5 games and yeah, what we can do against the Aussies.
So have you thought about what it's going to be like walking down these steps, you know, as captain of England out into this field?
To be honest, I've just been thinking about the tactical side, really. I haven't really thought about that too much, but yeah, it might soak in tonight and I'll have a little think about it tonight and tomorrow morning before we start.
Has it always been an ambition of yours to one day captain your country?
Not really, no. Just to play for the country is enough, really, but yeah, to be leading the boys out in these 5 games should be good fun and I'm looking forward to it.
You say you've been thinking about the tactics side of it. What would be your tactical approach to this job?
You'll have to wait and see for that, but no, we've got a few things in mind. Obviously, the ground looks pretty small here this week, so today, this game coming up, so we'll see how we get on, try and play it by ear, else out there and blag it the whole way.
Could you ask for a better game against the Aussies? England versus Australia got so much history to it.
Yeah, obviously, amazing start, just to be playing against Australia, and yeah, they're such a good side as well. And in the last few years, they've been, I think they got to the final, didn't they, of the World Cup? Oh no, they won the one-day World Cup. So yeah, to be playing against the one-day World Cup winners in my first captaincy stint should be good fun.
Have you thought that maybe this could potentially be something of a trial potentially ahead of maybe landing the Test captaincy one day? Is that something you thought about?
Not really. I'm just trying to take it game by game, to be honest. We've got this game coming up tomorrow. Just try and think about that as much as possible, and then after that think about Headingley and so on and so forth.
Have you got family members coming down to watch tomorrow?
Yeah. Got a couple of family members coming down. My dad's coming down and my sister, so yeah, it should be good fun.
It's going to be a proud moment for them, isn't it?
Like I said before, I think just playing for England is a proud moment in itself. So yeah, just see how we get on. I'm fairly chilled about it.
I know it's been a difficult year for you personally. Your grandma, a huge supporter of yours, probably your biggest fan, passed away early this year. How do you think she'd feel seeing you captain your country?
Yeah, she'd obviously be very proud. I think not only just to be captaining, but just to play for England as well. She was very proud of that moment. But like I said before, I'd already done the stuff that she was really proud of anyway. So yeah, I'm just happy that I'm still playing for England and doing her proud.
Harry, go well tomorrow. Fingers crossed it all works out for you. Thank you very much. There you have it. Harry Brook, the next Yorkshireman to captain England.
And typical Yorkshireman as well. Does his talking on the pitch, I think.
Right, OK. And you love your cricket, don't you?
I do very much. She's back.
Where have you been?
Hiya. I only had 3 days off, but I feel like I've had like a couple of weeks off. There's been so much weather.
There's been a lot going on.
I know, yeah. We've had frosty mornings, mist and fog, and lots of stuff happening overnight. So yesterday, when I wasn't here, you were talking about, of course, the partial eclipse that happened during the early hours of this morning, and it was coupled with a supermoon, which basically means it's a little bit closer and a little bit brighter. So that's how it started the full moon. We had variable amounts of cloud last night, but many of you saw it, like this one in Gaul. A big thank you to Anne, and this one from Anthony Newby in Bramley. But yes, last night it looked like it had a little chunk taken out of it. So it was just a partial eclipse. It happened at around 3:30, 4:45 this morning. And John Victor took this great shot. So patient you are. I can't believe you were so patient, because of course you just have to set the camera up there and let it do its thing. Is it going to see it? Can we see that little chunk coming through? Yes, absolutely. There it is. So a big thank you. Weather photos at itv.com. So thank you for sharing. I missed that. Also missed an aurora.
They've been all over the place, these aurora lately.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you want to see the partial eclipse, you're going to have to wait till spring. So that's 29th of March, and then we get a partial solar eclipse. That's obviously during the day, and that's in March. So spring is a big thing next year. Total solar eclipse, I'm not going to see it in my lifetime, 2090. But yes, I said we saw an aurora. That's the next slide. A big thank you to Astro Dog. And that was on Friday and Monday night going into Tuesday. And there's got another video. Please send your videos to me as long as it's on a tripod if you've got a very steady hand. I'd absolutely love to see the videos as well as the shots. So a big thank you for sending that in as well. We've had a really good aurora season this year, haven't we? So yeah,
we have. We were only saying the other day, I thought it was a once in a lifetime thing.
No,
now it's every other night.
The sun has a weather, solar weather, space weather, and that's seasonal as well. And we're in almost topping the season of seeing the aurora at the moment. So yeah, we've had a good couple of years run.
Yeah, we were saying that, weren't you?
Yeah. You were saying it as well.
I was agreeing.
Anyway, space weather, normal weather.
Absolutely normal Kezagoza weather at the end of the programme.
We'll see you then, Kerry. Thank you.
Now to the third of our nominees hoping to become Calendar's representative at the Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards. Each year, one fantastic fundraiser gets to represent ITV Yorkshire and attend the awards in London. Tonight, it's the turn of Nazim Ali from Bradford.
Yes, it's estimated he's raised over £1 million for various charities since he was just 16, and that's been used to build hundreds of homes in places like Pakistan and Uganda, as well as giving aid to those living in war-torn countries. He also feeds the vulnerable in his community. Sarah Clark has more.
I have that something, inside me that just wants to keep helping people. And them smiles, for me, it keeps me going. I'm just one person, but I can have such a massive impact.
An impact that, for the last 3 decades, has helped improve the lives of thousands, not just in his home city of Bradford, but around the world.
I've lived here all my life, and I know how it's like not having much and suffering, and this is what's inspired me to dedicate the last 27 years of my life continuously towards others.
Nazim has almost raised £1 million, and that's astounding. And it's amazing to have a person like that that's pushing the boundaries at every level and making sure to get the job done for the most vulnerable in society.
Nearly half of the £975,000 fundraised comes from his annual Ramadan 10k run. Whilst fasting and even injured at times, Nazim always crosses that finish line.
Just visualising who am I helping. And from these 11 runs, I've raised £426,000 and built 300 houses in Malawi, in Uganda, in Afghanistan and in Pakistan.
The 43-year-old has also delivered aid to war-torn countries to help civilians caught up in the conflict.
I know it can be dangerous, but I take precautions, but I also know that I can't stop helping others. We can't just sit still and say, look, I'm going to look after myself. They're someone's children as well.
In his spare time, the careers advisor hands out hundreds of meals each week to the most vulnerable in his community.
Just to put a smile on their face, to show you care, that there's no difference between us. Everyone is one circumstance away from being in their situations.
He has been saving lives because it's not just about food and poverty and shelters. It's about the well-being of human beings.
His passion and dedication to his charity work has inspired those around him, especially the younger generations.
I think he should win because he is a lovely person. That's one of the reasons. And the amount of things that he's done, it's incredible. Everything that he does is definitely something that would encourage me to do when I'm older.
I've got that flame inside me, that passion, and for me it's strong as ever. You know, I always say I'll retire when I go to the grave, but until then I've got a lot of work to do. People are suffering in our midst on our doorstep, and if we all did our little bit, we put all that little bit together, it becomes a lot. You know, I've raised £975,000, but I want to get to the £1 million, and even that's not enough.
A very determined man is Nazim. He's going to get over that million mark.
I reckon he will do. I mean, it's just been a week, hasn't it, of the dedication and devotion that people show to helping others. It's been quite incredible all the way through this week, and
yes,
more to come.
I know, more to come. We'll have our final nominee of the week on tomorrow night's calendar, and on Friday night, don't miss it, we will be announcing the winner as well. So well worth tuning in for.
Definitely, and stay tuned right now because it's Kerry's weather forecast.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you. Hello again. It was an improving story across the region today. For most of us, a fine early autumn or late summer afternoon. Yes, cloudy to begin with, but plenty of blue sky and sunshine for the middle part of the day. And even at the coastline where there has been some cloud moving in, off the North Sea at times, still some breaks, still some sunshine with some decent temperatures for the time of year. So this was the scene today, that cloud thickening into the early part of the morning and then melting away again and pushing out to the North Sea. And we see a reverse of that once more with our easterly flow to our winds as we head deeper into this evening and overnight tonight. So west best for the evening, but overnight tonight I think many parts will be cloudy and that will keep the temperatures up into double figures. But under any clearer spells, especially over the mountaintops, the Dales, the Pennines and the North York Moors, will be down into single figures and a slightly chillier start as we head into tomorrow morning. 6:48 and 7:11 are your sun times as we head into tomorrow. So tomorrow, a bit of a cloudy start. There'll be some low cloud just east of the Pennines, probably down eastern slopes. That will all thin and lift and hopefully melt away once more into the afternoon. But compared to the last few days, we are expecting a little bit more cloud, perhaps especially to parts of East Yorkshire and directly at the coast into the afternoon compared to previous days. But in the sunshine, still not too bad, 19 or 20 Celsius. We do think it will be a cloudier day to end the week on Friday, where you get any sunnier spells creeping in from the south. There's a risk of 1 or 2 showers, but most places will be dry. It's a bit tricky at the weekend, but slightly more unsettled still on the milder side.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yeah, there you go. High pressure just holding on in for tomorrow for sure. A little bit tricky for the weekend. Head south and east would be my advice.
OK, good to have you back with your invaluable advice, Kerry.
I try you guys.
You do.
Well, I'd like to put an order in now for some nice weather at the weekend, please.
Yeah,
OK, I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
That's all for now, though. Arif will be back at 10:30.
Have a good evening. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.